Sound attention. Please stand for the posting of the colors and the singing of the national anthem, presented by the St. James High School Concert Choir, under the direction of Mr. Kenneth Bedwell. Colors are being posted by the St. James Army JRTC award-winning color guard, under the command of Cadet Captain Jacob Hardish. State flag carried by Cadet Private First Class James Bueller. National Colors Rifle Bearer, Cadet Captain Dalton D'Amico. And State Flag Rifle Bearer, Cadet Sergeant First Class Cole Roberts. Post colors.
Center.
Will cadets, students, and guests please be seated? Members of the St. James Wind Ensemble, under the direction of Mr. Chuck Capps, will now present a salute to the armed forces. We ask that our veterans stand and remain standing if able when their service song is played. At this time, I'd like to ask Lieutenant Colonel Bartley, our senior JRTC Army instructor, to say a few words to introduce our guest speaker.
Ooh, all right. Good morning. All right, now welcome to St. James High School's Veterans Day ceremony. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Scott Bartley. I'm the senior Army instructor here at the St. James High School JRTC program. What a great job by the chorus, our band, the color guard, and our weapons. Please give them a round of applause. As my cadets know, I love to be motivated. So before I introduce our guest speaker, I'd like to play a short video clip just to help us get in that spirit, help us get motivated this morning. So please go ahead and let's roll that clip. I'm motivated. We'll always be proud. We salute you. I would now like to introduce our today's guest speaker. You can find his biography in your program, but suffice to say, Colonel Steve Cellucci has been there and done that. He was our former senior Army instructor here at St. James High School, and I had some really big shoes to fill. He has served his country for over 30 years, serving in assignments from armor platoon leader to brigade level command. He's a graduate of our beloved Citadel, Purdue University, my alma mater, the Command General Staff College, and the War College. He was selected as the Senior Army Instructor of the Year for school year 2015-2016 and was inducted into the inaugural class of the ROTC Hall of Fame at Fort Knox, Kentucky. His wife of 38 years, Debbie, unfortunately could not be here today. She's at another event. And he has a son, Josh, who is also a veteran and a senior at Coastal Carolina University. Please give a great big St. James welcome for Colonel Steve Cellucci.
Well, it's my honor and my blessing to be here. And I'm already choked up having watched that film right there, so I just pray that you work with me to get through this speech. That is a very heartfelt speech, and I just salute all you veterans. 70 years ago, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed what many historians consider the greatest social legislation ever passed by the U.S. Congress. As popular as the GI Bill remains today, it took the horrific cost and bloodshed of World War II to remind many Americans just how great a debt is owed to our veterans. In 1932, thousands of World War I veterans camped out in Washington, D.C. to petition their government for bonuses that they felt were owed. Their campsite was forcibly overrun by the U.S. Army, and at least 2 veterans were killed by the police. President Franklin Roosevelt told the American Legion National Convention in 1933 that, quote, "No person, because he wore a uniform, must thereafter be placed in a special class of beneficiaries over and above other citizens," unquote. While Roosevelt would later prove himself to be a great wartime commander-in-chief, what he and others failed to realize at the time is that veterans were not asking to be part of a quote-unquote special class. They just wanted a shot at the American dream that they fought so hard to defend. Most Americans profess to truly love our veterans, especially gatherings like this on Veterans Day and Memorial Day. And while their feelings are usually sincere, It is important to remember that veterans are defending us 365 days a year. The heroism that has been demonstrated time and again by veterans from the American Revolution to the global war on terrorism, sometimes unnoticed by those of us who enjoy the security of their sacrifice which has been provided. Army Staff Sergeant Clinton Romisha has seen war at its very worst. While serving at Combat Outpost Keating in Afghanistan, he and his comrades awakened to an attack by an estimated 300 enemy fighters on October 3, 2009. According to his Medal of Honor citation, Staff Sergeant Romisha took out an enemy machine gun team and engaged in taking out a second when he received shrapnel wounds from a rocket-propelled grenade, but he continued to fight on. He killed at least 3 other Taliban fighters and directed air support to destroy 30 other enemy fighters. After receiving the nation's highest military medal, Staff Sergeant Romisha said he felt conflicted. The joy, he said, comes from recognition of us doing our jobs as soldiers on distant battlefields, but is countered by the constant reminder of the loss of our battle buddies. My battle buddies, my soldiers, my friends for life. Staff Sergeant Romisha's attitude is not hard to find among the living Medal of Honor recipients. They will never forget the sacrifice of their friends, and neither will the Gold Star families who will have to cope without the embrace of their loved ones. The innocence of their grieving children will be challenged by the dramatic change affecting the balance of security and comfort in their family routine. The hearts of these families will feel the sharp sting of their loss, leaving them only with memories of their loving mom or dad. Life as they have known it will be much harder from now on. Our debt to these heroes can never be repaid by our gratitude, and respect must last forever. For many veterans, our nation was important enough to endure long separations from their families, miss the birth of their children, freeze in sub-zero temperatures, bake in wild jungles, lose limbs, and far, far too often lose their lives. Many spouses have had to endure career interruptions, frequent changes of address, and a disproportionate share of parental responsibilities. The children often had to deal with changes in schools, separation from friends, and hardest of all, the uncertainty of whether or not mom or dad will live through the next combat tour. Warriors, never advocates, and that is why we're here today. We are here to serve veterans, their families, and our communities. Veterans need each other, but more importantly, our country needs our veterans. You cannot fight a war without veterans, and while a utopian idea of a society without war is appealing, let us not forget that wars have liberated slaves, stopped genocide, and toppled terrorists, which continues today. Stephen Ambrose once wrote, "America's wars have been like rungs on a ladder by which it rose to greatness. No other country has triumphed so long, so consistently, or on such a vast scale through the force of arms." It has been often said that without our veterans, Americans would be speaking Russian, German, or perhaps even Japanese. Regardless of which view of alternate history you take, we do know that without our veterans, America would not be America. And as we look at the Middle East today, we know that there is a large, dangerous, and committed group of fanatics that wants us dead. And while ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and other terrorists may lack the conventional weapons of Nazi Germany or Imperial Japan, they are every bit as evil in their intentions to destroy us. Those who defend us from our enemies must be supported, whether their service was in Baghdad or Afghanistan. We need to serve veterans as well as they serve us, even when the guns have temporarily stopped firing. Veterans don't ask for much. They do not want to be in a quote-unquote special class. But benefits are a mere drop in the bucket compared to the financial and human cost of war. And while not all veterans see war, all who have served in the military have expressed a willingness to fight if called to do so. You can show your support for these great men and women by hiring a veteran in your workplace, visiting a VA hospital, donating to a veterans program, or like myself, donating to the Project Warrior campaign. Companies should understand that it's smart business to hire veterans. And when members of the Guard and the Reserve deploy, it is America's business to ensure that their civilian careers do not suffer while they're away. Homelessness is another issue that affects veterans disproportionately. Too often, today's tattered citizen of the street was yesterday's toast of the town in a crisp uniform with rows of shining medals. This is hardly the thanks of a grateful nation. We can do better. We must do better. Historians have said that Dwight Eisenhower was prouder of being a soldier than he was of being the President of the United States. And while relatively few veterans ever reached the rank of general, pride in one's military service, as evidenced today, is a bond shared by nearly all who have served, and I salute you. This pride is on display on every obituary page in the country, where military service, regardless of how many decades have passed and subsequent achievements have reached, is mentioned with the death notice of nearly every deceased veteran. Today, can any CEO or distinguished Ivy League graduate truly claim to have more responsibility than a 21-year-old squad leader walking point on patrol in Afghanistan? Fewer than 10% of Americans can claim the title veteran. Far less than 1% of our population is currently defending us in the global war on terrorism. We see it every day on TV. And yet many seem intent on trying to balance the federal budget by diminishing the quality life programs designed for the families who have already disproportionately made these sacrifices. Veterans have given us freedom, security, and the greatest nation on earth. It is impossible to put a price tag on that. We must remember them. We must appreciate them. God bless you for being here. God bless our veterans. And God bless America. I salute you.
Major Ricky Cox and Sergeant Oldham, assisted by the JROTC Color Guard, will now lay a wreath in memory of all veterans, living and dead, who have served our country. Since 1917, over 40 million service members have served in our military. 654,000 Americans died in battle, and 1.5 million were wounded from World War I through the current war on terrorism. More than 21 million American veterans are still living today. We will now present each war, beginning with World War I, and lay a rose in memory of all veterans who have served. We ask that our veterans stand during the narration of the war on wars in which they've served. Representing World War I is Cadet Jackie Skuchko. She is accompanied by Student Body President Kendall Securo. What began as a local European war between Austria and Serbia was transformed into a general European struggle by declaration of war against Russia on August 1st, 1914. Eventually becoming global, it included 32 nations, to include Great Britain, France, and the United States. From 1917 to 1918, 4.7 million Americans served in World War I. 204,000 were wounded, and 116,516 lost their lives. America's last World War I veteran, Frank Buckles of Charleston, West Virginia, passed away in February of 2011 at the age of 110. Representing World War II is Cadet Clem Corton. He is accompanied by Senior Class President Jasmine Robinson. World War II, in terms of lives lost and material destruction, was the most devastating war in U.S. history. It began in 1939 as a European conflict between Germany and an Anglo-French coalition, but eventually widened to include most of the nations of the world. It ended in 1945, leaving a new world order dominated by the United States and the Soviet Union. From 1940 to 1945, 16.1 million Americans served in World War II. There were 671,846,000 wounded, and 405,399 lost their lives. The median age of an American World War II veteran is 92. Only 696,000 World War II veterans are still living today. Representing the Korean War is Cadet Luke McNeely. He is accompanied by sophomore class president Anna Wallace-Lee. A military struggle fought on the Korean Peninsula from June 1950 to July 1953. This war began between South and North Korea after North's invasion of the South. The conflict swiftly developed into limited international war involving the United States and 19 other nations. 5.7 million Americans served in the Korean War. 103,284 were wounded, and 54,246 lost their lives. 1.5 million Korean War veterans are still living today. Representing the Vietnam War is Cadet Abigail Witt. She is accompanied by Student Body Vice President Adam Scott. For years, the Vietnamese struggled for their independence from France during the First Indochina War. At the end of this war, the country was temporarily divided into North and South Vietnam. North Vietnam came under control of the Vietnamese communists who had opposed France and who aimed for a unified Vietnam under communist rule. The United States became involved in the war to prevent the spread of communism throughout Southeast Asia. From 1964 to 1975, 8.7 million Americans served in Vietnam. 303,644 were wounded, and over 58,000 lost their lives. 6.9 million Vietnam veterans are still living today. Representing the Persian Gulf War, known as Desert Shield, Desert Storm, is Cadet Tyler Reed. He is accompanied by Senior Class Vice President Haley Keith. This war got its beginning in 1990 when Iraqi forces invaded and occupied Kuwait. The war culminated in fighting in January and February of 1991 between Iraq and an international coalition of forces, led by the United States. This is the first war where women were recognized as being in actual combat. From 1990 to 1991, 2.3 million Americans served in Desert Storm. 467 were wounded and 1,972 lost their lives. 4.4 million Desert Storm veterans are still living today. Representing the War on Terrorism is Cadet Josh Rice. He's accompanied by Student Body Secretary Jordan White. On September 11, 2001, our world as we know it changed forever. The most devastating terrorist attack in world history was made on the World Trade Center buildings in New York, the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., and failed Flight 93 crashing in a field in Pennsylvania. Over 4,800 American lives were lost, and the dollar amount of property damage was in the billions. The war on terrorism still continues today in Iraq, Afghanistan, and around the world. Once again, our military, like the veterans before them, have been called upon to serve their country. 6,880 U.S. service members have died since the war began, and over 52,000 have been wounded. Even with the drawdown in Iraq and Afghanistan, this number still continues to rise. It is by their dedication, commitment, and sacrifice that we continue to enjoy the freedom we are so accustomed to in this great nation. Our nation stands united with them. We honor you today as well. Our final tribute is for all the fallen comrades of our veterans. Staff Sergeant Kevin Watson of the U.S. Marine Corps and Private Jasper Hosier of the U.S. Army National Guard will now pay tribute to all fallen soldiers. The empty combat boots and rifles symbolize the ultimate sacrifice of those who could not be with us today. Please stand for the playing of taps by Savannah Futrell and the band director Chuck Cass. Thank you. Everyone, please be seated. At this time, Lieutenant Colonel Bartley will say a few closing remarks.
Whew, all right. Man, what a ceremony. What a ceremony. Sir, if you wouldn't mind standing up for us for a second. Please go ahead. Sir, on behalf of Mr. Pennell, our principal, and our St. James JRTC Sharpstown, the cadets would like to present you with a small token of our appreciation for being our guest speaker today. You might have seen this sign when we came in today. All the cadets that you have inspired over the years have taken the time to sign that sign in hopes that you'll hang it in your man cave at your beautiful house. Sir, thank you again for being here today. I really appreciate it. All right, next I'd like to take the opportunity to thank the many veterans and their families for attending today's ceremony. In the words of Elmer Davis, this nation will only remain the land of the free only so long as it is the home of the brave. Would all veterans please rise and face our students? You honor us with your service and your presence. Please give them a round of applause. All right, I want to leave you with this one last clip, which to me says everything. Please play it.
If we look to the answer as to why for so many years we achieved so much, prospered as no other people on earth, it was because here in this land we unleashed the energy and individual genius of man to a greater extent than has ever been done before. Freedom and the dignity of the individual have been more available and assured here than in any other place on earth. The price for this freedom at times has been high, but we have never been unwilling to pay that price. Those who say that we're in a time when there are no heroes, they just don't know where to look. The sloping hills of Arlington National Cemetery, with its row upon row of simple white markers bearing crosses or stars of David, they add up to only a tiny fraction of the price that has been paid for our freedom. Each one of those markers is a monument to the kind of hero I spoke of earlier. Their lives ended in places called Belleau Wood, the Argonne, Omaha Beach, Salerno, and halfway around the world on Guadalcanal, Tarawa, Pork Chop Hill, the Chosin Reservoir, and in 100 rice paddies and jungles of a place called Vietnam. Under one such marker lies a young man, Martin Treptow, who left his job in a small-town barber shop in 1917 to to go to France with the famed Rainbow Division. There on the Western Front, he was killed trying to carry a message between battalions under heavy artillery fire. We're told that on his body was found a diary. On the flyleaf, under the heading, "My Pledge," he had written these words: "America must win this war. Therefore I will work, I will save, I will sacrifice, I will endure. I will fight cheerfully and do my utmost as if the issue of the whole struggle depended on me alone." We must realize that no arsenal or no weapon in the arsenals of the world is so formidable as the will and moral courage of free men and women. It is a weapon our adversaries in today's world do not have. It is a weapon that we as Americans do have. Let that be understood by those who practice terrorism and prey upon their neighbors. As for the enemies of freedom, those who are potential adversaries, they will be reminded that peace is the highest aspiration of the American people. We will negotiate for it, sacrifice for it. We will not surrender for it now or ever. We are Americans.
Always be proud. Always remember. I salute you. On behalf of Ms. Bunnell, our principal, and many thanks to our student body representatives, chorus, band, service representatives here today, the JRTC cadets, fellow teachers, and staff veterans for their outstanding efforts in presenting today's ceremony. Veterans and their families are welcome to stay and meet with our cadets immediately following the ceremony. Thank you. God bless you.